get your questions straight into the chat, and we'll make sure we prioritize you over here on Zoom with your questions to our considerable dream team tonight. And we'll do some introductions in just a moment after YouTube has decided to do its thing. Okay. Get your questions. Excellent. We're live on YouTube as well. So please ask your questions of the Expats Portugal Dream Team over there on YouTube as well, everybody. So thank you once again for being here this evening. Look at this, everybody. The dream team of Expats Portugal on Migration Thursday. We're sad to hear that Gilda's a little bit poorly with a bit of flu, but here in her place tonight is Beatriz Ribeiro from EI. Good evening to you, Beatriz. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
Very well, very good. Great to see you. Excellent. And you'll be taking questions on behalf to do with migration and visas and being here in the place of the Queen of Visas tonight. Derek, if I could mute you, I would. I'm just looking to see. Oh, there we go. I think you're having a private conversation at home at the moment. We don't want to share that with everybody on YouTube, I don't think. Who else do we have here from the Dream Team tonight? We've got Sarah Davey from Spartan FX. Good evening to you, Sarah. Sarah,
no, I'm mute.
Where are you now? Are you still in Portugal? Are you still enjoying life here in Portugal?
Unfortunately, I'm not. I wish I was, but I'm not anymore. Back in the UK.
Okay, and how are you this evening?
I'm well, thank you. Just the weather's not so great, but
no, after being in Portugal, it wouldn't be. But sorry, I won't rub it in. Thank you for being here this evening. And I know you've got some news for us from the world of currency exchange, so we'll come back to you for that a little bit later on. Jacqueline is also here in Rio tonight. Jacqueline?
Yes.
Check you out. How are you doing?
Wonderful. Weather is awesome. Yeah. Sorry.
So unfair to Sarah, isn't it? Okay, so I'm in Rio and the weather's fantastic. Great to have you here, Jacqueline, from Mortgage Direct tonight.
Thank you,
If you've
Carl.
got any questions about mortgages, of course, and financing your property purchase here in Portugal, Jacqueline is the person to ask about that. We've also got Nuno from Winsurance. Good evening to you, Nuno. How are you? How's the capital looking tonight?
Hello, good evening, everyone. So, for so long that I'm not seeing you, Carl. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Lovely to see you as well. This is like Eurovision as well, isn't it? Good evening, Lisbon. How are you tonight?
Yeah, in Lisbon.
So you're here from the world of insurance, and you take care of so many things for so many people in the world of insurance, Nuno. It's great to have you here. So don't forget we have questions about insurance as well for Nuno this evening. And a new addition. Welcome to you tonight, Willem, who's joining us on the Dream Team panel as well. Tell us about yourself, if you will. Could you give us a quick introduction to you?
Thank you very much. Willem Maritz from South Africa, immigrated to Portugal in 2018. I'm in the wealth and advisory space for individuals and for companies. And yeah, I've did it all my life, done it, and just keep on doing it.
Good man. Okay, great to have you here. So answering questions on wealth management, basically, in 2 words tonight. If anybody wants to ask you questions about personal wealth management, great to have you here to answer and field such questions. We've also got Jerry here, of course, for the call too, who can chip in as well. Jerry, a great wealth of information, of course, as part of our dream team. So let's go to, I think, Beatrice, you have a little bit of some hot news for us, don't you, from the world of the Golden Visa?
Yes, I have. I don't think this is going to please a lot of people.
Oh.
So the Prime Minister today spoke and he decided that golden visas cannot be issued anymore. Yeah, basically is a decision to try to make sure that Portugal has leases, not only for Portuguese, but for people that are living here. And they decided that one of the ways to do that was to stop the golden visas. So, yeah.
That's kind of hot off the press, isn't it? And was that as a result of this ministerial meeting that was going to happen that addressed all aspects of life for Portuguese people from that housing angle? Was that today's meeting and the news that's come from it?
Exactly.
Okay.
And it was all about that. And there are also some news regarding people that apply for a golden visa, they receive the golden visa, and then what happens to the ones that invested in the market and they want to renew their visas.
Yes.
Basically, what happens is you need to prove that you are the owner and you are living in that house that you bought. Or if the other possibility is you make that lease like it is for life as a lease. So you give to other people the lease to live. That is the only possibility for you to get that renewal of your golden visa.
Wow, that's pretty significant, isn't it?
Yes, it is, because the golden visa is not only for buying houses in Portugal, is to create new jobs for Portuguese, is to invest in culture. There are a lot of things that basically the Prime Minister only wants to resolve the question of the lease, and everyone, especially Portuguese, always think that the golden visa are especially to buy properties and they are taking our houses out.
Wow. Wow.
Oh,
This
this
is a
was a mess.
profound day then, isn't it, for society in Portugal?
It
And
is.
obviously a bit of a shocker for anyone considering that route. When you say it's stopping, I mean, it can't just suddenly stop though, right, Beatrice? There has to be some kind of management of this ending or conclusion.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know how they are going to do that, but as we know, stuff is always changing.
Yes.
And we need to wait and see, honestly.
As you understand it, and as the news is filtering out, the golden visa idea, as we know it, will end. It's not like it's changing; it's ending.
It's ending.
My goodness. Okay, so that's quite something tonight. If you have any further questions, do put them into the chat. Square Eyes saying it had to happen. It was getting out of hand for the Portuguese. I personally, I mean, for what it's worth, I'd be in favour of some sort of transition and evolution of that, so that it's a win-win. But that's pretty drastic. And would you say, Beatrice, I mean, it's quite politically motivated, isn't it? That it's a coalition government, and the Prime Minister has to keep a number of parties on board and happy to have power in the coalition. So is that part of the background as well?
Yes, I believe that it was an immediate response just to please the Portuguese people, because as you probably know, from 2022 they stopped the golden visas to buy in Lisbon, Porto, and coastal areas.
Yeah.
So basically, it was going to be an improve not only for the islands but also to the interior of the country. So basically, with this, we are stopping the growth of the interior. Everything. So we are basically saying that the golden visas are not welcome, and we forgot about how incredible they were.
Yeah, quite.
To our country, and to make us as good as we are and the country today. So I think that this was a terrible idea. I think there was other options, not like this.
Very interesting. So it was quite a shocking afternoon in the EI offices by the sound.
Basically, our WhatsApp was completely crazy. Like,
Well, is this true? What's happening? And yeah, it's a bit toing and froing on WhatsApp, because of course you are mainly lawyers over there, aren't you? At EI, and the Prime Minister is as well, I think, and the President. It's a world of law, isn't it, at that end of government? So fascinating, fascinating time.
Expected, because there were a lot of countries that are now doing exactly the same thing. I believe that last week was Ireland that said that they no longer needed or wanted golden visas. So, but I thought that was taking more time for them to consider and rethink about their decisions. But
wow,
yes,
that's significant. Thank you, Beatrice, for that news. I was told, says Marlon in the chat here on Zoom, that people who have already submitted will be grandfathered in. I mean, presumably, let's hope that people who are already in on the scheme, the door will close behind them, not in front of them.
Yeah, that is our problem, because there are a lot of people that submitted their visas and they still don't have any response from SAF.
Right.
So we still don't know what is going to happen to them.
Right.
And we still need to see the law they are proposing, the decree of law, to see what is going to happen. But I don't know what's going. I'm really confused regarding everything.
Sure, no, I see that. I see that, and it is, you know, the way that it's been reported, the way it's been shared, obviously is confusing and not entirely helpful at the moment. So that's we'll stay all over it as much as we can do. And Marlon, I don't think we can give you any better news than that, except maybe to stay in touch with whoever it is processing your golden visa, and stay tuned to the forum over at Expats Portugal as well. And we'll do our best to keep all over that as it unfolds. Quite fascinating. So Darren's asking over on YouTube, good evening, what's today's topic? It is the Dream Team. It's Migration Thursday, answering all your questions about moving to Portugal, everything you need to know. And we've been joined by another member of the Dream Team, I think. Dr. Averbuk, I think, is with us as well from Serenity. So you've got the best people possible to help you move to Portugal here tonight. Let's go to Sarah Davey, into the world of a currency exchange. I think you've got one or two headlines for us as well, Sarah.
Yeah, no, basically thought I'd give just a quick currency update. I know there's a lot of Americans listening to this, and I've sort of said it before that we've started to obviously see slight reversals in selling US dollars and buying euros. It wasn't as good as it was last year, but we're still overall at good levels. The issues that we're seeing at the moment is that what we're looking at inflation data, we're looking at interest rate announcements, we're looking at a lot of the sentiment that comes after that. The ECB, the Fed, they normally come out with comments after the rate hikes, which give us an indication of their intention, what they're going to do next, what they see the forecast for the rest of the year. And previously what we'd seen was that the Fed had been increasing interest rates very aggressively last year, and it looked like that they were going to stop because inflation was coming down naturally. But now they've said that there may be a couple of more rate hikes that they need to do. Then the ECB, they said that they were going to be more aggressive. So we thought we would see some more euro strength, very similar to what happened with the US last year. But their initial hike hasn't been as aggressive as we first thought. And also a member of the ECB came out recently, Panetta, and saying that they thought that inflation would come down at the end of the year. But again, another ECB member, Christine Lagarde, was saying that she believes that we will need to be aggressive with the rate hike. So there's a bit of a mixed information coming out at the moment. So we're just trying to navigate all of that with customers, keeping everybody up to date with what's happening. It depends on your timeframes. A lot of people we speak to might have deadlines if they're buying property, or maybe they don't and they're looking at emigrating over to Portugal later in the year. What can we do to help manage those budgets when you're getting a price for your property? How can we make sure that it's not going to be more expensive for you? How can we make sure we're getting the most money for you when you make that move to Portugal, essentially?
Mm-hmm. Okay, and a bit of a shocker from the some of the American banks not being especially competitive, I hear as well.
Absolutely. We've spoken to a couple of customers recently, and we already knew there was sort of a good 3 to 4% between what we can offer and what the bank's charging. But recently we spoke to a customer, they were using, it was actually Bank of America, and they were charging up to 5% for that transfer. So it is always worthwhile checking with your bank. It's definitely considerable, the money that we can save, is certainly against your bank. But one of the things he said was that it wasn't just the rate, but he'd used his bank and he struggled to transfer the money, had some issues. So really, he said he wished he'd found us sooner. So we don't want that to happen to everybody else. So please, obviously, do speak to us and see how we can help. It isn't just the rate, it is the process. We see customers that come up against things like, for example, they move and they don't look into it, and then their bank has a limit of about 70,000 US dollars that they can move every month. So obviously, if you're buying a property, you're going to be having to move money over the next possibly 6 months to make that payment. Now, if you've got a deadline, you probably haven't got that luxury. We see where, for example, compliance might be holding it up. We've had some customers that have been using an online company. The client was doing small amounts. They requested documentation before they'd send the money out. I think they were given about 24 hours to upload documents. They struggled to do that. They couldn't speak to anyone. And then what happened was her account basically got closed.
Yikes.
So, or in some people's situation, they were trying to buy a property and they missed that deadline. So a lot of what we do in the background is actually, yes, we can give you a very good rate, but it's actually helping with the process of moving the money.
And in a sense, it can't be too soon to start that relationship, but as you've heard there, it definitely can be too late sometimes. If
absolutely, I mean, we're speaking to customers before they go so that they can put the plans in place. How easy will it be to move your money when you're not in the country? Do you have to get an international card reader? Do you have to fill in any documentation? We've had customers that have given power of attorney to family members. Again, obviously, it depends on your relationship with them. But there's things you can look into. Maybe the bank that you've got your account with has the limits on. Can you open another account before you go and transfer it into a different account that might make that easier? All of that's a lot easier to do once you're in your home country than it is doing it from Portugal, or in fact it might be impossible. So we have, we've seen clients have to fly back to try and sort out those problems.
That's a costly problem to solve, isn't it? Thanks, Sarah, for now. And of course, you can speak to any of our Dream Team panel here via chat, direct message. So if you want to do that, if you don't want to go through me to ask the question and you just want to spark up a conversation in the chat over here on Zoom, do that. And yeah, ask the questions that you need to know to move to Portugal. And thank you for now, Sarah. If I can come to you, Jacqueline, in Rio, by the way, talk of interest rates, has that had any impact that you've seen when it comes to the lending and finance of buying property in Portugal?
I think in general, I can say that banks are really competing for business. So they're really trying to get more clients, which is always a good thing when there's competition. The prices are getting more attractive, or maybe not just the prices, but also conditions. And something that, so this is not financial advice and I cannot commit this to anyone, but we've seen also some leniency on the loan to values. So banks are still quite strict that you maximum 70%, but in some cases they're opening up to the idea of 80%. And I mentioned that on previous sessions when we were together here in the webinar that, you can't qualify for 80% if you are earning income in another country, even if you are registered in Portugal. But maybe there's now some options there, and we see banks really trying to do their best to get some business. So it's definitely a good sign.
Almost fighting for your business there. That's good to hear. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jacqueline, for the time being. We do have a question on the visa front, CEF front, Beatrice, for you. And do give our love to Agilda, obviously, when you speak to her. And I'm not sure, presumably you won't have had time to find out how Mandela's doing. But love to them both. From Sandrine. Oh, before we go to Sandrine, Patricia, good evening, Carl. Good evening, everyone. When will the recorded part of the taxation webinar get uploaded to YouTube? That's ready to roll, and it will be coming out sometime soon, Patricia. The great taxation webinar that we did last Thursday. And of course, if you want to be there on those calls, become a premium member, you'll get priority warning and treatment of webinars that come up. So premium membership is recommended. And of course, you'll get 10% off the services of EI, for example, and a bunch of other perks and benefits. So let's go to EI now. And Beatrice, I have my CEF appointment next week, and I have a question about the insurance required by CEF. This might be a Nuno question as well. We are a family of two, myself and my 27-year-old daughter. We are all covered by one Portuguese insurance. After buying the policy, I was told that CEF requests a separate policy for each one of us, as we applied for D7, each one alone, and not dependents or family reunification. Is that true? Beatrice, what would you say to that?
Basically, you just need a general medical insurance for CEF. It only needs to require at least 1 year.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to have any kind of minimum requirements. It just needs to make sure that you are insured moving forward, because after you get your residency permit, you can apply for be enrolled in our public health system. So that problem will be resolved.
Okay, I think the particular issue here might be that CEF questioned the fact that they weren't two separate policies for each person, but that shouldn't. If it's a family or household policy, that should be fine, right? For CEF's purposes. If
you have like a document stating that you both belong to that policy, I don't think that is going to be any problems.
So worthy of a challenge in this instance. Both names need to be on either separate or a joint policy, but the names need to be there. That's the main thing, isn't it? That you can see who is covered, whether it be on a group policy or an individual policy. Did you want to add anything to that, Nuno? And how great you are at providing these policies for people?
Oh, no, I'm not. I don't know if I'm great.
Not going to blow his own trumpet.
Sorry?
I said you're not about to blow your own trumpet. The way it tends to work with Nuno is that other people will step in now and say, "Oh, he's such a great guy. He did my insurance. He's fantastic to work with." As so I'm not going to put you on the spot and embarrass you.
I only try to assist and to be useful.
Yes,
to everyone.
We know you are absolutely that. Nuno.
This is strange. So if I'm going to put here the email. And if the person that wrote you, I don't remember the name,
Sandrine
want to send me, okay, thank you. Want to send me the insurance policy, I'll give a look, because it could be not a health insurance policy, maybe a travel. So I don't know if there are some confusion about the insurance policy itself. So I'll give a look freely and
cheers, Nuno. That's
I'll
great.
check that.
That's really
No
helpful.
problem.
Appreciate that. There you go, Sandrine. Nuno stepping in to help out there. Brilliant. Thank you both, Beatrice and Nuno, on that. Kevin, what is the perspective on changes to rental properties to discourage tourist properties? I don't know. I'm not sure if this is a specialist subject of any of our dream team. You might want to comment anyway, but Kevin's saying, what is the perspective on changes to rental properties to discourage tourist properties? While it may make it more challenging for tourists, could it actually increase supply to D7 applicants? Given that Casa Portuguesa is a sister company of EI, you may well have been talking about this, Beatrice, in the office there. This is to do with the I guess the pulling back on the AL, Alojamento Local licenses, isn't it? Do you think that will make more D7 leases available?
At least by the program that was today regarding the Prime Minister and what he spoke, that is what they are thinking about. Created new houses for people, houses that don't have anyone in there or are not being used to give it to people. So I believe the perspective is definitely to engage and have more leases to everyone, not only for Portuguese, but also for anyone that has a visa, that has a residency permit, and also for tourists. So I believe that at least they are making some changes and they are improving something.
Well, it's quite drastic, isn't it? I mean, I don't think anyone like we can tell from you and your response to this. Nobody was expecting this to be quite so drastic today, were they? So they've definitely done something that people have been saying should happen for a long time, and then suddenly in today's meeting, okay, we're going to do it, and I think that's actually taken everybody by surprise. Yeah,
it lasted 2 hours to discuss everything. So it was completely unexpected. At least I was not expecting anything of this. So
I can see a surprise on Nuno's face as well. Like, hold on a minute. The politicians said they were going to do something and they did it, and it only took 2 hours. What?
Yeah, but the thing in Portugal is they theoretical something, but then to do it in practice, it takes a little longer. So I don't expect to see any changes in the near future, unfortunately.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's talk about that process because, of course, this is a recommendation that must be seen by the president. Once the decree law is formulated, it has to have the seal of approval from the president. What do you think of its chances in terms of the president's political leanings?
I don't know. Our president is a constitutional professor, so he knows the law very well.
Okay, all right.
And he's a great guy to basically tell what needs to be redone and what needs to be better and better written. So I believe that the next episodes will be really fun for Portugal.
Who knew?
Yeah,
fun politics here in Portugal. That's what you're moving to, folks. Amazing. Thank you for that, Beatrice. And thank you for that question, Kevin. Time will tell then, it would appear, but like a move in the right direction, possibly. John and Daryl, Monju, good evening to you. Good to see you again. I was told there is a spreadsheet about D7 visa approval times. Where might I find this? We've got that on the Expats Portugal forum, and that is taken care of by Mystic Jeff. It's an amazing service. Just pop over to the forum, John and Daryl, and say where's this spreadsheet about the D7 visa approval times, and you'll be pointed in the right direction. On that note, Beatrice, how is life dealing with CEF at the moment? What's going on with them? They've got their deadline coming up, haven't they?
Yeah, I believe that is in March.
April 1st, right? Which is a very poor date to pick, in my view, for any change for an organization. But that's end of March, 1st of April. They're going to be rising from the ashes like a phoenix. Have you heard anything? Are you encouraged?
Yeah, basically what I've heard is that our lawyers that work with us are completely mad towards CEF because they are making changes in the service on business hours. So sometimes the services goes down while they are there waiting for their documents to be processed and everything. So it's not a good feedback that I've been receiving from a lot of people.
Wow.
So we still don't know about that, unfortunately. Regarding the D7 and the visas, they are taking more time than 60 days. The digital nomads, on the other hand, are being issued in less than 60 days. So good news.
Go figure. Okay, so yes, very interesting. Thank you for that feedback. to know what's going on behind the scenes there. And clearly something is afoot with Seth there. So they may be able to announce some incredible changes by the 1st of April. Thank you very much, Beatrice, for that. Dream Team are here. It is Migration Thursday. All of your questions answered from various angles: mortgages, insurance, currency exchange, and visas, of course. And I'd like to ask a question of Willem now, who joins us from that wealth management point of view. Sometimes it's difficult to get advice, Willem, if you're a foreigner, because of the regulation of different countries. Who can you help? From which countries can you help people?
From that point of view, we do have a desk in the United States that we work with, Geneva, the whole of Europe. We've got affiliated partners in the UK. So yeah, we can pretty much help people with any sort of investment or pension fund or transfer or pre or post retirement. Yeah, so anything like that.
Fantastic. Okay, that will come as a great news to our American listeners. So you can help people from the United States.
Yeah, it's obviously all the tax differences and the penalties. So you have to have your ducks in a row to be able to advise clients from the US. But with our partnerships in the US for many years, yeah, it can be done effortless.
Good to know. Thank you very much for that. Willem, did you want to say anything else about the service you offer? Because you're new to us here. Is there any further introduction you'd like to make to the audience?
Oh, you know what? I'm just obviously my information has been shared between the participants. You have any questions? We've got a team, we've got a back office. We can easily get those answers. If I personally don't have them, in many ways, we've got support teams, legal, international, whatever it is. We always have our partners and large investment companies globally in the UK that exist 200 years and longer that we can direct questions to and get answers for you. So if you struggle with anything and you feel you need help, you're more than welcome to ask.
Fantastic. And that's great, Willem. Thank you. And you can be found in the expatsportugal.com business directory, which there's a link for that in the chat now. Everybody from the Dream Team can be found there. Dr. Michael, is that you from Serenity? Are you there with us tonight?
It is me, yes.
Good evening to you. Well,
I'm sorry, I'm on a move, so no video for the couple of next minutes.
No, fair enough.
Sorry.
If anybody does want to see Michael's handsome face, you will see that on other videos that we've recorded with him. I just wanted to connect with you tonight because you've got a good deal, I think, on at the moment, haven't you, for membership?
Well, yeah, you got the mail.
I did.
You got the mail. All right, yeah.
It's
well,
working.
Actually, it's everybody's talking about money and inflation and whatever. So we raised prices a bit, and yet, for all of our loyal clients and loyal members, what we said is like, come on in, guys, bring your friends, and fix the sold price for you. So yeah, it's a nice deal, right?
Well, we know that people speak of you in the best possible way, and maybe you could say a little bit about what you do for people who haven't heard of you. But what's happening is people were thinking this is a great price, this is a great service that you offer, and as you said, there comes a time when prices do have to go up. But you've locked them for people, and you will give a special deal for the introducer, by the sound of it, for people, for friends who tell other friends.
Absolutely, it's a friend bring a friend thing. We're running it up till the end of April.
Yeah.
And whoever of our clients would refer a friend that would become a member will fix his price for another year at least.
Perfect.
Actually. Yep.
Good news. Good news in inflationary times, Michael. So what is it for people who haven't heard of you yet? What does Serenity do for people?
Well, what Serenity does for people is everything, and I literally mean everything that concerns your healthcare transition into this new country of Portugal. And it starts with the simplest things of how do I fill my prescription medications, and it goes through how do I get registered with the SNS, and it goes through like how do I pick my insurance. We're not selling insurance, but how to pick it. Like sit with us and analyze with us what would suit you best, and later on we'll even help you. Use this insurance, use this eligibility that you're paying for in the best possible way. But it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop with the admin. It doesn't stop with just referring you to the right places. Our case managers, and each and every one of our members has a dedicated case manager that knows him, knows the family, knows the needs. Case managers are all medical professionals. They're all nurses. We have a group of physicians that supports our decision-making in terms of, hey, I have a symptom. It's not only I need a paper of insurance, I have a symptom. I have a trouble with my health. I don't know what are the next steps. I don't have anybody here to consult with. It's quite a devastating situation when you're alone with pain. Doesn't necessarily mean physical pain, just a pain that I can't solve. And what Serenity does, it actually comes and gives you a hand, welcome and warming hand that says, you'll never be alone. It's not like Manchester United, almost.
Liverpool, I think you mean.
Wasn't it Manchester? Sorry, whoa, all the Brits.
Careful, yeah.
Okay, I apologize.
We get it. You'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone with Serenity. And
you'll never walk alone in this maze of the Portuguese healthcare systems.
Which is a massive relief to a lot of people, Dr. Michael. We recently joined Serenity, say John and Daryl here. We are loving it so far. So there you go, a glowing testimonial.
Thank you so very much.
And yeah, I think that it's very helpful, and a bit like with what we were saying with Sarah earlier on Spartan FX. It's never too early to start the relationship with you, because people will be thinking a bit. Well, if they talk to you, they will realise things they haven't already thought of, like how to move their prescriptions and so on. So best to speak to you maybe before starting the process rather than when they've got here into Portugal, right?
Yeah, it is actually, as was mentioned prior in this conversation, planning can never harm in that case. Actually, planning ahead is the key.
Yeah.
Because some of the people, and it really doesn't matter what age they are, some of the people come and it's very easy because they don't have any medical conditions to be concerned with. Some technicalities of insurance and the registration of the national healthcare system can be easily treated, and that's it. And others, even younger people with a specific medical concern that was for years stable and treated back in their home countries, can become a huge hurdle, a huge obstacle when you just come to a new country and you're eligible for treatment. It's actually very easy, but between this easy to be treated and being treated, there's a huge block of bureaucracy, there's a block of processes, and you just need somebody to walk you through it. So just exactly talk to us as soon as you even think of this move. When you tick the boxes on visas and bank accounts and NIFs and whatever, add another small box. How do I transfer my healthcare to Portugal? Yeah.
Well said. Marlon here says, ditto, great support, echoing John and Daryl's sentiment and support of you. I'm a physician, says Marlon, and I still need help with healthcare. So even doctors coming to Portugal need a bit of help, and Serenity are perfectly placed to do that. Thanks, Michael. Great to hear you.
Thank you for that.
All right, bye for now. Well, let's go to, I think this might be one for you, Beatrice. And I don't know what this is actually, Jennifer. Is the living website for renters use or just owners? This is a new thing on me. Living is with two eyes. Is that a new kind of website or agency? If not for renters, are there websites for short and mid-term length, i.e. 2 to 6 month stays, for long-term tourists and D7 applicants who will stay 6 months, a year in Portugal? Okay, so I think notwithstanding the fact, Beatrice, that for your application, you obviously need 12 months anyway. This is after that, I think. So what do you say to people, apart from use Casa Portuguesa to find your lease?
So first of all, I want you to be aware that when you receive your residency permit for 2 years, you can stay outside of Portugal 6 months in a row and 8 months altogether. So be careful regarding the 6 months a year outside of Portugal. This can get you in trouble.
Right.
Regarding that, unfortunately, I never heard of that website.
Me neither.
from former clients or from, because since the digital nomads nowadays, it is not a requirement to have a lease agreement, I should be heard of that. So I still haven't. So the only caution that I have for you is to make sure that you stay in Portugal long enough for you not to lose or jeopardize your renewal of your residency permit.
Okay, and can you run that past us again? What are the specific and strict requirements of that?
So basically, you can stay outside of Portugal 6 months in a row or 8 months altogether for a period of 2 years.
Right. Okay, thank you for that. Flatio was another that has been mentioned. Spotter Home also, and of course, good old Airbnb. But this is in flux, isn't it? This whole situation with the lack of inventory for rental, and of course, how things have changed over the last couple of years with what CEF are looking for. How is that for people and the clients over at Casa Portuguesa are finding 12-month rentals? It's pretty competitive at the moment, isn't it?
It is. And people don't realize when they start looking and searching to come to Portugal that this is nowadays the rental market. You cannot find a 2-bedroom apartment for less than 900 euros in Lisbon, and it's very competitive. So if you really love a house, please make an offer as soon as possible, because it's going to disappear.
Yes.
I also want to advise to everyone that is applying for the D7 that please find a real lease agreement.
Yes.
Because if not, the Portuguese embassies are really strict, the requirements, especially with the 7. So anything that they can cut to basically get you reject, this will be a way.
Okay, so be very careful and use Casa Portuguesa. I think that's James's suggestion here. James in Estoril, home of the James Bond inspiration at the casino there. Casa Portuguesa is the best. Isn't that lovely to have that testimonial there as well? So very competitive, and that's great advice, isn't it? We're hearing that more and more. If you find somewhere that is good enough, go for it, basically, is the advice.
Yes, and also if you want our help to make sure that the house is real, please, you already have our email.
Well, like this is what for people who there are listings and they're not real listings, for example.
Yes, nowadays there are a lot of fraud on rental markets because they want to make fast money.
Yes.
And so if you have someone that can go there to take a look on the house, to make sure that the house is real, that it functions, it has doors and everything, yes, please do.
Amazing. Okay, well, thank you for that advice. Excellent stuff. Agree, says John and Daryl. They found us a great T3 in Brugge. You got a lot of fans here tonight. I noticed there's somebody by the name of Gilles de Pereira here. I don't know if they want to speak or if they're just watching from their sick bed, but you're very welcome, Queen of the Visas, if you're going to join us. In the meantime, Nuno, any news on these new policies? We're keenly awaiting new policies that have been spoken about, and much interest there is in these from expats and immigrants and foreigners coming to Portugal. Any news yet, or am I being a bit too keen and hasty?
Middle news. We had a first design about coverages and assistance, but the insurer gave us the opportunity to do 2 improvements which we asked for. So I believe that next week we'll have very good news regarding nursing at home and medical assistance.
Wow. Okay. Sorry if I'm being pushy with that, Nuno.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. Okay. Thank you for asking.
It's a serious issue, isn't it? Of course, and people will be keen to know about that, including myself, so that we can share that with other people. Gilda, are you there? I'm seeing the name and I'm seeing you flash up on the screen. Perhaps not. Or maybe she's just out for a walk with Mandela and just tuning in whilst out walking and keeping an ear on things as the Queen of the Visas there. So we need some more questions in the chat over here on Zoom and over there on the Expats Portugal YouTube channel as well. Anything anybody from our dream team is thinking? I need to share this with the good audience here tonight. Anything that I've forgotten to ask you, Beatrice, this evening? Willem from PCC Wealth, Jacqueline Mullen, is there anything from the mortgage world that we need to know about? We've also got Sarah with us. I'll reiterate, it's never too early to open an account, and a free account at that, right, Sarah, with you?
That is true. But I just wanted to follow something that we just said about sort of she goes and checks out the houses and in case they're obviously fake listings and things like that. And one of the things, unfortunately, we've seen more and more of through hearing it through customers, through other contacts and partners we work with, that unfortunately there's a lot more instances where people's emails have been hacked. And we see it where fake emails have then been sent either between the customer and then the lawyer or the financial institution, and backwards and forwards. And they're very clever. And then they're basically trying to get money out of you, or getting you to transfer money to the scammer's account. Unfortunately, some people do actually do it. So the thing to bear in mind is, if you're sending to a third party, we always recommend that you do a small test first. You'd rather lose $10 or $100 rather than your 250,000 that you're sending. The other thing that we always do and would certainly recommend as well is that whenever we're sending money to a beneficiary, we always ring and check the details. We don't trust email. There can be human error, or as I said, unfortunately at the moment, emails can easily get intercepted sometimes. So just from a kind of security perspective, we do tests, we check the beneficiary, and as I said, I would recommend that you do the same as well.
And it's a bad sign, isn't it, when someone's rushing you? Normally there is no need for people to be rushed, is there? They may have their own deadline to meet in moving money, but when someone is asking you to do something quickly from the other end, that's a bit of an alarm bell, isn't it?
Well, it depends. I mean, we do have customers that unfortunately leave it to the last minute. They're normally ringing us saying, I need to move the money today. I need it there tomorrow. So that does happen, and that is legitimate. We can move the money very quickly, and often it can be in people's accounts within an hour or 2 hours. But we wouldn't recommend that you leave it to the last minute, because there's a lot of things that are slightly out of control. You sending the money, your US bank, for example, or the Portuguese bank that's receiving it, they may take a little bit longer to clear that. So there's a few things to sort of bear in mind, and it's always best to try and give yourself as much time as possible.
Really good. Time is relative, isn't it? Because they say in the shortest unit of time is the time it takes for a light to go green in Lisbon city centre and for the car behind you to honk their horn. That's the shortest unit of time. The longest is when you press send of $250,000, right? And the hour that it takes to arrive where it's supposed to be going. I guess you have a few people ringing you about that, Sarah, from time to time.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen it when they've sent it through their bank, and they've seen it take a week to get there. So can you imagine, every day you're checking and you're panicking. Yes. So we try and keep our customers up to date throughout the whole process with that, because we know how nerve-wracking that can be. We've got extra tracking on the money as well. So we'll keep you posted when it's left the account, where it is, and when it's in the beneficiary account as well, because we know how stressful that can be.
Good to know. Square Eye says, yes, email hacking is a big thing. Use a long password for your email account and change it more than once a year. You might thank Square Eyes for that bit of advice there. Yeah, it's worth doing. Thank you for that, Square Eyes, in the Zoom chat here. Still a little confused. This goes back. Thank you, Sarah. This goes back to Beatrice, I think. Still a little confused. You can be outside of Portugal for 6 months over the 2-year term of the residency permit, not calendar years, and visits to other EU Schengen countries don't count. How does that work in terms of EU and Schengen there, please, Beatrice?
Yeah, it's 6 months in a row or 8 months altogether. Okay.
Right. Okay.
And regarding the Schengen area, so basically, since your passport doesn't get stamped, you can travel around, but I always recommend you to really comply with those rules, because we still don't know if the new system of SAF will be able to control this kind of travels and exits and entries in Portugal.
Yeah. The direction of travel for Schengen, of course, is for more control, isn't it?
Exactly.
And yes, I think that's the EU wish here. The European Union itself is to track more closely the movements of people around the Schengen zone, right?
Exactly. And also, it's not calendar years. It's basically the moment that you go to yourself is when your 2 years period starts.
Okay, good to know. Thank you, Jürgen. That's an answer for you there. Sorry, the website is living, so it's a new one. And given the hello,
hey, buddy.
Hello, Mike T. Did you have a question for us?
Oh,
no, I think he's talking to somebody else, but hasn't muted up. Mike T, let's mute you up. Not this buddy, a different one, I think. Okay, yes. Where were we? Living 3 eyes. Given the desperation that people are experiencing trying to find leases and rentals, it's worth mentioning this. The website is Living 3 Eyes, and it covers just a handful of areas, including the Algarve, Porto, Villanova de Gaia. Notwithstanding the great partnership and the great words that are coming in, compliments for Casa Portuguesa, of course, tonight. From Randa frozen in Canada. I'm so sorry to hear that. Do you know how long an EU citizen who received a residency certificate has to stay in Portugal each year to keep the residency? That's a similar theme, of course.
Yes, it's basically the same period of time.
Yeah, okay.
Basically, they issue in the law, they have this rule, and only in exceptions they really written down what are the exceptions, and there aren't many.
Yes.
Only the exception of these 6 months in a row or 8 months altogether is if you have professional reasons to go away, like a meeting, like to get a reunion, anything can be exceeded. But of course, you need to be reasonable when presenting to staff why you being outside of Portugal more than this time.
So a bit of documentary evidence might be useful rather than just saying, I had a meeting.
Exactly.
The dog ate the homework kind of style. You've got to, it would be good to have an agenda or an invitation or some sort of proof of that. Presumably health problems, family emergencies, those would be looked on favorably as well. It
is, but it needs to be something that is unexpected. So yes. If it is not a disease that is prolonged over time, so try to be something that is completely out of your control.
Yes.
When trying to reason.
Understand that. I want to come back to these movements as well in just a moment, but not until we really have got there and everybody's understood this, because Jennifer, is the 6 months, she's asking, is the 6 months in a row or 8 months total per year, or within the 2-year period?
2 years is per residency permit. Since the residency permit, it is for 2 years.
Yes.
It is the application. You're right.
It's what you live and breathe, Beatrice. For us mere mortals, it's sometimes difficult for us to get our heads around this. Thank you for bearing with us on that. Really appreciate it.
It's my job.
Yeah, of course. And you're doing a great job tonight. Now, this thing of movements, we know that some people are waiting for their meetings beyond the time they're meant to be here, right? And they need to move. And then they find themselves at a different country's border control, and they say, Seth said it would be fine. Now that may not go down well, right? With a different border control. How should people prepare themselves in that sort of circumstance?
In the duration of the visa or during the residency permit?
Both. Either. Any eventuality, if you don't mind.
Okay, in the duration of the visa, you shouldn't be outside of Portugal in the termination of the date.
Okay.
Because although the Portuguese authorities know for sure that it's not your fault, that you haven't had your SEF yet,
right,
other authorities might not recognize it. So please don't go outside of the expiration date of your visa. For residency permits, since you have a Portuguese residency permit, normally in the Schengen area, they don't really care or make any questions regarding that. But always be sure that if you go to another country to make like a copy of your residency permit, imagine that if you get stolen or if if has a robbery or something, so keep always a copy. And if you get robbed in some other country in the Schengen area, please request to the police, then makes like an inventory of what happened, just for you to, when you come to Portugal, to contact SEF and tell them the information.
Good advice. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but that's good advice in that unfortunate circumstance. So that's brilliant, Beatrice. Thank you very much. So we might be moving towards our last question here. It's another one for you. Ubi's here as well this evening, and Vision Portugal Dream are waving to us and saying hi this evening. Hello to you. Possibly the last one for you tonight then, Beatrice. And we will go around our Dream Team panel and we'll just get a final top tip from each of them this evening. Their top tips for helping people, as they have done with many people moving to Portugal, their insight and a last word from each of our Dream Team panel. But before we go there, Mashinini, is a lease agreement required for the digital nomad visa? Nice simple one there.
Oh, it depends on the Portuguese embassy that you are applying.
Aye.
Normally, what I recommend you to do is enter directly in contact with the Portuguese embassy and request if what they want as a proof of accommodation here in Portugal. Please be prepared that they are not clear and they don't say out loud what they really want.
Right.
So my
Okay.
recommendation would be, in the safest way, is a lease agreement for at least 1 year. But I've seen that Airbnbs for a long period of time are good for some Portuguese embassies. Also in Uniplace also gives opportunity for you to rent an apartment. Also, the big innovation for me regarding digital nomads is they are starting now requesting a NIF in the Portuguese bank account.
Oh, okay. So that's a bit of a change, is it?
Yes, at least from the VFS in Edinburgh, which is the Portuguese embassy in Manchester. They requested that, was completely unexpected. So please be prepared in advance of that.
Okay, so being well prepared is the best case scenario is to have your NIF bank account and your 12-month lease, and this is looking like a D7 requirement. The same.
Exactly. That was our fear, but is saying
Yes.
that it become.
Okay, so a classic answer there. It depends, which sometimes you hear in Portugal, right? And I've been in a loop. You know, I don't know who it was I asked once. I said, "Can you tell me what it depends is in Portuguese?" And they said, "Well, it depends." And I said, well, no, what is it depends? It said, "Well, it depends what you're trying to say in Portuguese when you're saying it depends." I was like, okay, forget it. I understand it depends. Okay, that's brilliant. Beatrice, let's start with you then, with your final words this evening on a Migration Thursday. What's your top tip to people thinking of coming to Portugal?
Don't give up.
Great.
Sometimes, don't give up. Your dream of coming to Portugal is going to occur.
Yes.
You just need to put a much effort of reuniting everything when preparing your documents to the VFS or the Portuguese embassy to be as completed as possible. Make sure that timelines are okay, like criminal record needs to be within the 3 months. And everything that can be apostilled, please do it, just in case. We never know.
Yes.
And always be gentle with the officers, because with a public officer, at least in Portugal, a good smile, a good morning, it'll take you a long way. So
well said.
Don't lose your confidence and keep up.
Oh, that's really nice advice. So yes, and try a bit of your Portuguese. So hola, bom dia, hola, boa tarde, whatever, starting off in that way will go a long way, as you've said there, Beatrice. Thank you. Great job tonight. I appreciate you being here. And Square Eyes, I needed to hear that, Beatrice, she says. So that's really great news, comforting news. Don't give up. Let's go to Rio now. Your top tip, please, Jacqueline, to people thinking of coming to Portugal, probably within the realm of borrowing money to buy their house here.
It depends.
I knew one of you would say that. Okay, all right.
On your personal circumstances.
Only one it depends is allowed in this last bit, okay? And Jacqueline's taking it.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, go on.
It always depends, yeah. But it's true. It's really that per each personal situation, it depends. So do speak to us early to make sure that you don't make any decisions that are going to hurt your options to get a mortgage. It's about, we're talking about a lot of money. All of that we're talking about always involves the subject of money. It has a value, and you don't want to reduce that or reduce your options by making any choices that are going to hurt you. So speak to any of us that that you're going to need one of our services in the future. Speak to us early to make sure that you have yourself covered in the best sense.
Very good. Very good. I don't know if anyone can help with this. Ubi is suffering from Bifana withdrawal. You've just got to get back to Portugal, basically. I'm not sure we can help with that, apart from you getting on a plane and coming in and having a Bifana. But the one condition, I need to come with you, Ubi, for that one. Thank you, Jacqueline, for that. And Mike T has questions for you. Presumably, Mike, can you give me a thumbs up if you've got the details that you need to get in touch with Jacqueline? Let's make sure you've got that. Yes, he's going to be in touch with you. That's fantastic. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Jacqueline.
Thank you, Mike.
Let's go, and I'm doing it in this order because this is who I can see on my speaker view on the screen here. Let's go to Sarah, a top tip.
Basically, Jacqueline nailed it.
Well, it depends.
Yeah, absolutely. She basically what I was going to say, but I think that's it. Speaking to a few customers that are now here, what they were saying is that they thought they'd done enough financial planning, whether it be, as I said, obviously looking at moving your money, the taxes, anything that's evolving around money. They thought they'd done enough research, and then the reality, they haven't. So
Right.
they need to, they said they wish they'd thought about it a little bit more when they were looking at the visas, because while the visa is so important, obviously you can't get there without the visa, it's still important to be looking at some of these things probably in more depth than what some people do before you go.
Okay, thank you for that, Sarah. Have a great evening. A bit chilly in the UK, sending you some Portuguese warmth from this part of the world. Thank you so much for being here. Let's go to Willem. Are you still there? What's your top tip? You're enjoying life in Portugal, I take it. Where are you?
I'm in Estoril with my
lovely, yeah.
wife and 2 kids for the past 5 years. So we live here close to the casino, and yeah, no, life is mais ou menos, but it's good overall. So
Fantastic.
yeah, and my top tip is if you haven't seen your financial advisor for the last 6 months, just give him a call and meet up with him. I think it's always important to keep them on their toes, like they will possibly meet with you often. Yeah.
And should they pay for lunch?
I'm sure they need. If they haven't called you and you phone them, I assume they will.
Okay, they could at least stretch to a bifana, couldn't they? As Ubi wants. Thanks, Willem. Really nice to meet you tonight. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Cheers. Is Dr. Michael, you still there from Serenity?
Absolutely. So
Top tip from you, sir.
I'll just repeat what everybody says. Just plan ahead.
Depends.
It doesn't, in health, it doesn't depend. You just need to plan it ahead. That's it.
Plan ahead.
Really?
Plan ahead. Okay. Plan seems to be. I wonder if Nunu's going to go with this. Thanks, Dr. Michael. See you soon. Nunu.
Thank you, guys.
The last word from you. Jerry and Astrid may want to chip in as well before the end. But Nunu, what is it going to be? Plan ahead, or it depends from you?
Well, I'm going to finish my intervention of today with the synonym of it depends. Smile and cross fingers.
Okay.
Basically this.
Okay, it depends.
We never know.
Okay, and yeah, but you know, in your world, crossing fingers is having the right insurance, right?
Oh yes. Don't rely on crossing fingers.
All right, thanks, Nunu. Thank you. What an amazing turnout, hey Jerry. The dream team tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, Carl. Thank you so much, Dream Team. Marvelous to hear from you all tonight, and what a wonderful job you've done. And thank you also, Carl. Quite a lot to manage there. You've done a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, extra tick for you. You can have a glass of wine on us tonight, Carl.
Well, that's the last bit of advice from John and Daryl here. When we were in Portugal, Daryl suffered from a severe case of SAW. Watch out for this, folks. Shopping after wine. It's so easy to get drinking the wine here in Portugal. You know, one glass can lead to another. Then you go out and you wake up maybe next morning with loads of shopping bags at the bottom of the bed. That's SAW for you, shopping after wine. Watch out for it here in Portugal. Thanks, everybody. Should we leave it there, Jerry?
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Thank
Great
you
job,
all.
everybody. Thank you all. See you next Thursday.
Good night. See you next week.
See you then. Bye for
Thank
now.
you.
Thank you.